Welcome back, friends. In this particular new playlist, which goes like Nakshatra Darshanam, we'll try to leverage and build some knowledge around astrology, astronomy. This will be built upon the work which is done by our sages, right? We'll try to leverage that knowledge which our sages has created, and we'd like to leverage the benefits out of it by understanding it, by emphasizing the benefit it offers to us in day-to-day life, right? So today is the first session where we'll discuss or understand the qualification of an astrologer, or what makes an astrologer, what are the attributes which an astrologer should pursue or should have or should inculcate, should try to or should strive to inculcate in him or herself, right? So to start with, we have this shloka from BPHS, which stands for Brihat Parashara Horascopes, chapter 27, serial number 39 and 40. So which goes like गणितेषु प्रवीणो यः शब्दशास्त्रे कृतश्रमः न्यायविद् बुद्धिमान् देशदिक्कालज्ञो जितेन्द्रियः ऊहापोह पटुहोरास्कन्दः श्रवणसम्मतः मैत्रेय सत्यतां याति तस्य वाक्यं न संशयः. Same is written in English. This is in Sanskrit. गणितेषु प्रवीणो यः शब्दशास्त्र कृतश्रमः न्यायविद् बुद्धिमान् देशदिक्कालज्ञो जितेन्द्रिय 39 verse. ऊहापोह पटुर्होरस्कन्दः श्रावणसम्मतः मैत्री सत्यतं यदि तस्वा वक्पं वाक्यं न संशयः. So this is coming from Brihat Parashara and we'll try to this shloka which gives us the qualification of astrology. So there's a dedicated shloka for indicating the qualifications of an astrologer. So we'll try to leverage or unwind it basically to understand it better. So Ganiteshu Praveno, which means expertise in mathematics. Why? The whole and soul of astrology is mathematics. So that is why it is beyond science, right? It's not just science. We mostly try to end up creating the discussion or end up the discussion saying like it's not science, it's not scientific, but it's totally science, and it requires an expertise in mathematics because you need to calculate time, you need to understand the coordinates, you need to understand the latitude, longitudes, and all those, and understanding the different planets, different nakshatras, different revolving patterns, and all those things are required for us to do calculations, computations. Though these calculations and computation in today's world are done by software, but if the astrologer knows them manually, then he and she can validate the software, whatever calculation the software does. So that is why expertise in mathematics is a prerequisite for us to be a good astrologer, right? Then the second thing that this sloka highlights is Shabda Shastra Krita Shamaha, which means having mastery over language. So just now we have checked, like we understood this, we followed Sanskrit while reading this shloka, and then we converted into English, and then we are trying to leverage the meaning of it in English again. So mastery over language is another key attribute. If you have that, it's good, or if we have to build it over a period of time so that we can communicate effectively, we understand the requirement which is coming up so as to provide the required solution. So these are the things. Then Nyaya means judicial balance and synthesizing conflicting indications. Means whatever is truth should be conveyed. That's the Nyaya which you can do. So Nyaya judicial balance in synthesizing conflicting indications. Right? There could be conflicting indications when you are predicting something, when you are analyzing something, but you need to throw things which are truth. That is the thing. Buddhiman, sharp, probing, and intelligent. This is important. If this is the main trait for the astrologer. He should be Buddhiman, he should be sharp and probing and intelligent. You have to decode. The prime thing which an astrologer do is the decoding the future of a person, right? Or you indicate the fate of a person, right? So you have to be very intelligent in analyzing the data or statistics which the person provides us so that we can define or we can indicate. We never define. We indicate the fate, right? Also, we have to do the analysis, or an astrologer has to do an analysis of 9 planets, 12 houses, 12 rashis, 27 nakshatras. So all this requires in multiple combinations of planetaries, and then to do some analysis on top of it too, so as to come with some result for the problem which a person is facing. So that is important. So This requires a sense of intelligence of a subject, and it takes time. Desh dik kalagno, which means desh means the place, dik means the direction, and kalagno means time. So these are the three important parameters which an astrologer should be aware of, right? And that comes with the knowledge of geography, tradition, culture, and social conditions prevalent in his or her area. Desh means place, dik means direction, kalagno means the time. So place, the place, time, and direction. These are the three important attributes which one should be aware of to give the right right statistics, or to analyze the statistics in a effective way. That's the place only where we convert the time and all those things comes into picture, right? Jitendra, winning over senses. This is very important. Like, one should have moral control and not exploiting clients for monetary. I have seen there are huge amount of on YouTube itself. Like, people try to post their contact, and then they will ask us to ping on WhatsApp. And when we start pinging them on WhatsApp for some related astrological guidance or consultation, the first thing they ask is the money, right? Without even listening to what problem we have, what we come up with. And that cost is huge. Like, sometimes it's like 1200, 1500 per hour, like that. But that's the very first thing which one should initiate. Like, the cost should come first. So that means those people are not following this Jitendra, means their sole motive is money, and then post to that they will listen to the problems of what client is bringing. Ideally, we should listen to the problem first. We should analyze the problem first by understanding what data and statistics and what he's going through, then analyzing, then providing solution, and post to that if it is feasible. And whatever the clients, if client is satisfied with the solution which you have provided, and there's a change in his state, at that point, if client thinks in that scenario, we should be seeking some benefit. But otherwise, there is no, first thing should not be benefit. It should be sole solution providing, and that is where the Jitendriya concept comes into picture, which says like we should be winning over our senses. We are not motivated by money. We are not motivated over anything else, but to provide solution to the person who is in problem at the first instance or the first glance. So these are the core concepts which one should build if he or she wants to be an astrologer, right? And all emotional considerations, all monetary related aspects should not be there and prevalent in the context. Puha Puha Patu, which means able to visualize and illuminate different facets of an issue and arrive at a correct solution. Puha Puha Patu means nothing but it's an approach in which we should not attach. I mean, as an astrologer, if I just give you an example of other format, like we have doctors, right, who do surgeries and operations, right, but they never attach themselves to the patient. If they are attached to a patient, then they might not be able to do the operation successfully, correct? Because there's a sense of attachment there, right, which is more prevalent as compared to the other scenario. The same way, we should be able to visualize and illuminate different facets and of an issues and arrive at a correct solution without getting ourselves attached, right? And we should communicate it effectively. Another aspect is like these are the eight key principles which are covered in this yoga. Hora, Skanda, Shravana, Smata. Knowledge in Hora, Skanda, and Shravan. Skanda, these are all part of the predictive aspect of an astrology, like where we do the prediction by analyzing uh, the Deshadik Kalagno calculation, like the direction, place, and the time. By analyzing that of a particular person, we perform what? The prediction, right? So that comes over a period of time. It's not an easy thing. As you get an experience or season astrologer, you get to know. So that is the thing which here it is indicated. So this is about the mantra which is from BPHS. But there's still another Varahamihira is one of the sage in India, and he's one of the Navratna of King Vikramaditya of Ujjain, right? So he also suggested some good astrology, qualification of good astrology. So one is purity. So it is when there is an inner purity that the reflection of planet on the earth stirs the rarest spring of intuition, and then the astrologer with his saturated technical knowledge can proceed to interpret a horoscope with humility and clarity of vision. So this is it should be the one who is an astrologer should be pure at his heart, right? He should be, then the stars or the other things start springing up, and then the intuition becomes, and then the astrologer with saturated technical knowledge, whatever technical knowledge he has gained over a period of time, he has experienced, he has practiced, would start stirring up so as to start giving us the result, right? Like that is the thing. We should not be having any bad things in mind prior to going for this aspects. We should be pure at his heart. Then efficiency. There is a technical and intellectual efficiency in approach to super science. It's a super science. Astrology is a super science, though it's dependent totally on mathematics. But it's a super science beyond science, right? So that is the thing. Its efficiency comes up when you're both technical and intellectually efficient. That is the key thing which it demands. Gift of gab, and actually should have right command over language. So the same thing which is specified in the last shloka as well, that one should be aware of languages, right? The Sanskrit which we discussed, and we started interpreting it in English. So the way you communicate, the way you express it effectively to the client in whatsoever way, that is the requirement here, so that we can effectively communicate the things to the client so that they get the effective result or efficient results at the end. So brilliance, an astrologer has to interpret a very vast data and come to a sound conclusion. It cannot be done by lackadaisical fashion and a perfunctory. Yeah, this is brilliance comes up with the fact that we get the data from the client. We understand their Karya Darshan, Desha, like the place, time, and the directions. All those things we got. We understood the problem. Then we start analyzing it. But that should not take much time. Though the analysis should be holistic, and we should never give the prediction for the first instance itself. Rather, we should be analyzing the problem, but in a very efficient way with from all the possible calculation we should do, and then we should reach to a conclusion. But that should not take much time. So that's where brilliance comes into effect. So the first thing is analysis, effective analysis, whatever is given to us, and followed by the effective conclusion, right? So these are the two things which on time we should be delivered on time, so as to be a brilliant, which makes a brilliant attribute for an astrologer. Now with inner quietude, he is like yogi with chitta having been purified. It's necessary so that he does not get disturbed when he sees something alarming planetary combinations. So we basically generate the horoscope based on the Desh, Tik, and Kala, which is time, place, and direction. Once we have the horoscope, we see the planets in the 12 houses, right? We have planets. We'll understand it. What are the various formats in which you can create, like South Indian, North Indian aspects, how the planets get arranged, what are the Rashis. Will in the upcoming sessions we'll try to leverage and understand that. But once we have that horoscope in front of us and we see something disturbing, we should not get intimidated by that. We should be calm, composed, so that solely from the perspective of getting a solution around it. Because once we are at a calm state and we are towards solution, identifying solution, then in that state only we can effectively communicate things to the client or to a person who is facing some issues in his life, right? So that's why he is asking us or indicating that a astrologer should be like a yogi. Yogi remains calm and composed in any type of situation. So that is the attribute which is demanded, a fearless speech. So armed with sound astrological insights into horoscope, he should have the ability to speak fearlessly in any assembly. He should not be he should be though he should trust on his analysis whatever he did, and based on that his confidence should be as high as possible, right? It should not be composed, and he should not be like uh, not able to effectively speak up, because that should come only when the calculation is good, and that should be an attribute of it, fearlessly giving us the speech so that other person truly believes in it and start following and would eventually get the results, because that should be mathematically calculated whatever the solution has been given. Now that is the reason. So should be able to hold his own in company. Now, in the company of other brilliant men, he should be able to hold his own and not to be eclipsed. Like we know that when many people of same genre meets up, so they have everything. So one should bring is what specific he has. Like astrology is common, right? But what specific or additional things you are bringing, what some research you are bringing into picture. So that is a key aspect, right? So that should be their intent. A capacity to interpret signs and omens. The psychologist observes these days as his patient walks in, sits down and talks and infer a good deal about him. In astrology, it has been an age-old practice of psychologists. So basically, capacity to interpret signs and all. So basically, whenever whoever is the client comes up, half of his body language is interpreting what he's going through, right? So that should be understandable by an astrologer. He should not be always dependent upon the data which the client speaks or the person who's in problem speaks of, but his body language should be understandable. So that is the modern psychologists follow, but is an age-old practice in astrology. So that is one of the attributes which one should have, an astrologer should have, right? Then freedom from addiction. There should not be an addiction. Like an addict disintegrates mentally. How can he then be used of others? Like if he gets whoever do addiction is disintegrated. So if he is himself is just disintegrated, how he can help others? So that is the reason. The other important aspect is knowledge of mantras for propitiation of planets. So astrology is linked to spiritual remedies which are based on mantras, right? So astrology has direct relation with mantras. Mantras and chants. An astrologer should know the use of mantras and restoring calm and peace to the disturbed mind. So that is how we bring mind. So we just discussed the shloka. So if we have the knowledge of that language and the mantras and that we can relate it fast, and that's how the remedies part come to. But this is again a thing that takes period of time post visit comes up, right? Capacity to counter evil forces, this comes under the remedial aspect as well, like, and that is also something which comes up over a period of experience, right? Or should be a spiritual person. So that is the most important thing. He should be a spiritual person. Ashram himself lead a spiritual and disciplined life because spirituality brings discipline in life. One should be keen to wake up early in the morning to do some spiritual activity that brings calmness in mind. He'll be more focused, and that's how it works out, right? And then capacity to put intelligent questions. The astrologer should be able to elicit very helpful answers from the person and to interpret a horoscope deeply. So that is the key requirement. And useful forewarning. An astrologer should give a very useful forewarning to a person and advise him properly as to the right precautionary measures that should be taken. So useful forewarning means we are just giving a heads up to the person who is in we are consultation with, right? A forewarning or advice basically helps a person to take right decisions, right time in advance format. So that is the key thing with which we can delay things or miss happenings, right? So that is how it works out. So I hope this would have given you a good overview for the qualification of a good astrologer, right? So I hope you find these sessions good. So stay tuned. We'll come up with more such eternal knowledge which our sages have given, and this is India's knowledge base, and we should be as an Indian citizen should leverage it as much as we can because there is a gap that has happened in between. Like the sages have this knowledge over a huge amount of period of time back. They have generated this data, but still we are not aware of it because of some lag. And our job is to bridge this gap because this is an eternal knowledge which we should not let it go like that. Thank you. Stay tuned.